Selamat datang di Gedung Dekanat, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Indonesia, Depok. Saat ini, Anda sedang berada di Auditorium Surya Atmaja. Untuk keselamatan kita bersama, harap perhatikan himbauan berikut. Terdapat dua potensi situasi darurat yang mungkin terjadi, yaitu kebakaran dan gempa bumi. Pada situasi ini, Anda diharapkan untuk tidak panik dan tetap tenang. Auditorium dilengkapi dengan 2 pintu utama dan 1 pintu tambahan di sisi kiri panggung yang difungsikan sebagai pintu darurat. Auditorium juga dilengkapi dengan alat pemadam api ringan atau APAR. Apabila terjadi kebakaran kecil, gunakan APAR jika mampu dan segera melapor kepada petugas. Namun, besar segera lakukan langkah evakuasi. Jika terjadi gempa bumi,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Om Swastiastu,
Namo Buddhaya,
salam kebajikan,
Shalom.
and good afternoon everyone. Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to the
23rd Economix. Before we begin today's seminar, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Zahran Nazmi.
And my name is Safa Tanjung, and we will guide you through today's seminar as your Master of Ceremony. Economix is the biggest international event in the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia, that is annually held by Canopy, the student body of Universitas Indonesia undergraduate economics students.
Economix regularly serves as the platform for the discussion of crucial global economic issues. The three main events of Economix are
International Seminar
MUN Conference,
and Competition.
with participants from different countries all around the globe.
In its 23rd year, Economix returns with the grand theme of
Navigating geopolitical shift, the future of global cooperation in an era of uncertainty. And the theme of this 23rd Economics International Dialogue is
Revolutionizing Supply Chain Strategies Amidst Global Trade War. Before we begin today's event, please abide by the following rules and information.
all participants are expected to attend the entire 23rd Economics International Dialogue event until the seminar has ended.
All participants are strictly forbidden to make a hassle or make a potentially problematic situation once joined the platform.
Please be considerate in maintaining a conducive atmosphere during the seminar, and please do not litter or leave your trash behind.
Attendees will be able to participate in the Q&A session by asking questions after the moderated session for a chance to converse with the speakers.
We kindly remind all participants to remain until the end of the event to complete the attendance form, which will only be made available at the conclusion of this event.
We would also like to emphasize that staying until the end of the event is important, as it is a requirement for the attendees to obtain their cum points.
And least but certainly not least, we kindly invite you to stay with us until the very end of today's seminar, where we will announce the lucky winner of our exciting door prize.
Now, we will open this event by singing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya.
We invite all guests to rise to sing the national anthem.
Next, we will sing the hymn of Universitas Indonesia.
All guests are now permitted to sit down. Before we start, we would like to welcome our esteemed speakers. Mr. Bambang Brojonegoro, Dean and CEO of the Asian Development Bank Institute.
Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putro, Director of Marketing Development and Export Development.
Mr. Marco Camia, United Nations Industrial Development Organization UNIDO representative in Jakarta for Indonesia, Timor-Leste, and liaison with the ASEAN Secretariat.
Mr. Yuki Nugrawan, Regional Asia Pacific Chairperson of FIATA.
Mr. Krishna Gupta, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies.
Mr. Aloysius Salwas Taborat, Coordinator for Defense and Security Treaties at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Riyandi Laksono, Researchers at CSIS.
Mr. Andre Simangunsong, Head of Mandiri Institute.
Before we move to the next agenda, we would like to thank our sponsors partners.
Bursa Efek Indonesia, LPM, FEBUI, ID Clear KPEI.
We also like to thank our media partner,
Interns UI, BEM Psikolog Unjani, Ganding Foundation, and BFast Media. Now, we are going to hear the welcoming speech from Dr. Ana Amalia Agus as the Manager of Student Affairs of the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia. Please welcome Dr. Ana to the stage.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all distinguished speakers, moderators, and participants of the 23rd Economics. Special welcome to our speaker, Mr. Bambang Brojonegoro, or Professor Bambang Brojonegoro for these institutions, but not yet coming. Mr. Bayu, as the representations of Directorate General on National Export Development, Mr. Marco Camia, Mr. Marco Camia from UNIDO representative, Mr. Yuki Nugrawan Hanafi, I think he's famous from Kadin, Indonesia, but right now is Regional Asia Pacific Chairperson to FIATA. Mr. Krishna Gupta, not yet coming, but still our warmest welcome. Mr. Aloysius Salwas Taborat, Head of Fiscal Policy, an UI alumni as well. Okay, and Mr. Riyandi Laksono and Mr. Andre Simangunsong. First of all, on behalf of Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia, I would love to thank all the speakers, moderators, attendees, committees for taking your valuable time to participate in this event. This event is really, I think is like kind of one of our student prestigious events. It's been 23 years, so can you imagine it's becoming like part of the Faculty of Economics and Business legacy. And this year, we really appreciate the topics which is like highlighting the importance of supply chain. I think for Indonesia, with 17,000 islands, as well as the 4 biggest population worldwide, having supply chain, having a strong point in our supply chain is like one of the key for the economic development. To be honest, before entering this room, we have like kind of a small chit chat, and I love what Pak Yuki said. It's not only about the transportation costs, but also about the movement of people, movement of the capital, and movement of the business as well. Existing for the last 3 decades of Indonesia, challenge on western part versus eastern part could be addressed well. Okay, and not to mention we're entering the geopolitical challenge right now. Not only Indonesia is affected from this geopolitical challenge, but I believe our distinguished speaker will have like a very fruitful discussions regarding on this how geopolitics affecting the whole business and economy within the region. Last but not least, I hope you could have like a very enjoying and a fruitful insight and discussions toward this event, because that's the purpose of this event. And this is like what the students should do, that we have like a critical thinking and broadening the students' knowledge, as well as sensitivity towards what's really happened within the world right now. Once again, thank you, and I believe please enjoy this very respected event. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Anna, for the remarkable welcoming speech.
Now, let's move on to the next agenda. We will hear opening remarks from important stakeholders of the 23rd Economics.
First up is Ms. Anggia Putri Tinambunan as the Chief Executive Officer of the 23rd Economics. Please welcome Ms. Anggia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Economics, I would like to welcome you all to the 23rd Economics International Dialogue. First, I would like to warmly greet and thank our distinguished speaker and guests for joining us today. Our Head of Student Affairs and Alumni Office, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Ana Amalia Agus. Our opening remark speakers, Prof. Bambang Brojonegoro, Dean of the Asian Development Bank Institute, and Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putro, Director of Market Development and Export Information. And our keynote speakers, Mr. Marco Kamia, UNIDO Representative for Sub-Regional ASEAN, and Mr. Yuki Nugrahawan, Regional Asia Pacific Chairperson of FIATA. Our moderated speaker, Mr. Aloysius Selwas, Coordinator for Defense and Security Treaties at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Andre Simangunsong, Head of Mandiri Institute, and Mr. Riyandi Laksono, Researcher at Center for Strategic and International Studies. And our moderator, Mr. Krishna Gupta, Senior Research Fellow at Center for Indonesian Policy Studies. We are deeply honored to have you here and are excited to learn from your insights. This year's international dialogue theme, Revolutionizing Supply Chain Strategies Amidst Global Trade War, is very close to our hearts as young people who will soon play an active role in the global economy. The challenges of supply chains and trade today are not just abstract issues we read in the textbooks. They shape the future we will step into. That is why creating a platform like this, where ideas from policymakers, industry experts, academics, and students can meet, is very crucial. Economics has always been about more than just a seminar. For over the years, it has been a space for meaningful conversation, for bridging generations and perspective, and for sparking collaboration across borders. We hope today will be no exception, that each of us can take a new knowledge, new networks, or even new questions to keep us curious. To all of you in the audience, thank you for being here. Your enthusiasm keeps economics alive and makes all of our hard work worthwhile. With that, let us begin today's dialogue with open minds and spirit of collaboration. I wish us all a fruitful and inspiring discussion. Stay tuned for our next events. Thank you, and once again, welcome to the 23rd Economics International Dialogue, as Spirit.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anggia, for the insightful welcoming speech.
Next up is a speech from the Treasurer of Kanopi FEBUI, Mr. Hafid Mahendra. Please welcome Mr. Hafid.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor to welcome you all to today's forum. Before we begin, allow me to extend my deepest appreciation to our distinguished speakers whose presence enriches this occasion. Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putro, Director of Market Development and Export Information, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, Dean of the Asian Development Bank Institute, Mr. Marco Kamiya, UNIDO Representative for Sub-Regional ASEAN, Mr. Yuki Nugrahawan, Regional Asia Pacific Chairperson of IATA, and our Head of Student Affairs and Alumni Office, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Anna Amalia Agus. We are equally privileged to be joined later in our moderated sessions by outstanding panel of thought leaders, Mr. Riyandi Laksono, researcher at CSIS, Mr. Andre Simangunsong, Head of Mandiri Institute, Mr. Aloysius Selwas, Coordinator for Defense and Security Treaties at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Under the guidance of our moderator, Mr. Krishna Gupta, Senior Research Fellow at CIPS. This year's theme, Revolutionizing Supply Chain Strategies Amidst Global Trade War, would not be more timely. As trade tensions reshape the global economy, developing countries face unique challenges that call for resilience, innovation, and collaboration. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank all our speakers, participants, and partners for making this dialogue possible. I sincerely hope that today's discussion will not only enrich our understanding, but also inspire concrete actions in building resilient and inclusive global supply chains. With that, I wish us all a fruitful and engaging dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hafid, for the inspiring speech. We will now proceed with the opening remarks, which will be delivered by Professor Bambang Brojonegoro. Although he is unable to be physically present with us today, he will be presenting his remarks live through hybrid format.
Professor Bambang Brojonegoro is an Indonesian economist. He has held several key positions in the Indonesian government, including being the Minister of Finance, the Minister of National Development Planning, and Minister of Research and Technology or National Research and Innovation Agency of the Republic of Indonesia. He has also served as the Vice Minister of Finance and the Head of Fiscal Policy Agency.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Bambang Brojonegoro.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, respected colleagues, and dear students. It is a great privilege for me to return to Universitas Indonesia for the 23rd Economix International Dialogue. I would like to begin by congratulating Canopy FEB UI for once again organizing an event that has become one of the most respected student-led international platforms for dialogue on global economic challenges. For more than 2 decades, Economix has been a bridge between academia, policy, and energy of the young leaders. Today, it continues to provide the space for fresh ideas and constructive debate on issues that will shape our common future. The theme of this year's dialogue, Revolutionizing Supply Chain Strategies in the Middle of Global Trade War, speaks directly to the disruption that define the global economy today. The rivalry between the US and China has set in motion profound changes. Nearly 180 countries have been affected by rising trade barriers, fragmenting value chains, and undermining the predictability of global commerce. According to the Global Trade Resilience Index, many developing countries, including Indonesia, remain vulnerable to this shift. This is not simply an abstract concern, because the stability of supply chain is linked to jobs, prices, and the livelihoods of millions of the people. At the same time, Indonesia's economy has demonstrated resilience. According to Statistics Indonesia, GDP expanded by 5.12% year-on-year on the second quarter of 2025, the fastest pace in 2 years, and acceleration from 4.87% growth recorded in the previous quarter. This performance was driven by household consumption, investment, and stronger export. It shows that even in an uncertain global environment, Indonesia's large and dynamic domestic market continues to serve as critical foundation for growth. Yet, resilience today doesn't guarantee resilience tomorrow. Our challenge is to transform this momentum into long-term strength, particularly by strengthening our integration into global supply chains in ways that are adaptive, inclusive, and sustainable. Globally, we are moving from a model where supply chains were designed almost exclusively for efficiency to a model where resilience and security are equally important. During the past decades, just-in-time logistics reduced costs and improved productivity. But the COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical rivalries, and technological disruption exposed the fragility of such systems. Concepts like friendshoring, reshoring, and nearshoring are now part of everyday business strategies. While these approaches may reduce vulnerability to political risks, they also risk fragmenting the global economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned that trade fragmentation could reduce global GDP by up to 2%, with the heaviest cost borne by developing nations. Indonesia stands at the intersection of both risks and opportunities. On one hand, our reliance on commodities exposes us to global price fluctuation and external shocks. On the other hand, our geography, resource base, and domestic demand position us strategically to become a hub for more diversified and resilient supply chains. The electric vehicle industry is a clear case in point. With the largest nickel reserve in the world, Indonesia has the potential to be a global leader in the green energy transition. Yet, this potential will only be realized if we build strong downstream industries, ensure environmental sustainability, and broaden our partnership beyond dependence on any single country. Digital transformation is another critical enabler of resilience. Supply chains in the future will be driven not only by physical infrastructure, but also by digital infrastructure. Real-time data, predictive analytics, and artificial intelligence will determine whether business can adapt quickly to disruption. Yet, as of 2020, nearly 89% of Indonesia's small and medium-sized enterprises have not yet adopted digital technologies. This gap must be closed urgently. Without digital inclusion, our SMEs, which are the backbone of the economy, will remain highly vulnerable to shocks. If connected, however, they could become powerful engines of adaptation and competitiveness in the new global economy. We must also recognize that multilateral cooperation is indispensable. In a time when protectionist impulses are rising, it is tempting for countries to turn inward. But isolation doesn't provide security. The global challenge we face, from climate change to digital disruption to energy security, are too large and too interconnected for any country to address alone. Indonesia, as a member of G20 and ASEAN's largest economy, has a responsibility to champion open, fair, and rules-based trade. Frameworks such as RCEP and ASEAN's regional initiative provide opportunities to enhance collective resilience to ensure that emerging economies remain central in the global trade architecture. To the young generation gathered here today, I want to emphasize that your role is critical. You are not only observers of these challenges, but also active participants in shaping solutions. Your creativity and determination will decide whether global supply chains become system of exclusion or platform for shared prosperity. Economics provides a training ground for you to sharpen your thinking, to develop new ideas, and to build networks across borders. Use this opportunity to question assumptions, to learn from diverse perspectives, and to propose bold strategies that can influence the future. As we begin this dialogue, I would like to leave you with 3 reflections. First, resilience and inclusivity must go together. A supply chain that is resilient but exclusive will only deepen inequality. Second, digital transformation is not an option, but an essential pathway for competitiveness and adaptability. Third, multilateral cooperation must be revitalized because fragmentation benefits no one in the long run. Let us remember that supply chains are not only about goods and services moving across borders. They are about people, the workers, the entrepreneurs, and the communities whose life depends on stability and opportunity. If we revolutionize the supply chain strategies with inclusivity, innovation, and cooperation at the center, then we can turn global uncertainty into shared progress. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish the 23rd Economics International Dialogue great success. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, for the amazing opening remarks. Before we continue to our next speaker, we would like to give an appreciation to Professor Bambang Brojonegoro.
Therefore, we kindly invite Ms. Anggia Putri, Chief Executive Officer of the 23rd Economics, to present a placard as a token of appreciation to Professor Bambang Brojonegoro.
Next, we will hear the opening remarks from Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putro.
Mr. Bayu Wicaksono is a seasoned trade diplomat and government leader with a career dedicated to advancing Indonesia's presence in the global market, currently serving as the Director of Market Development and Export Information at the Ministry of Trade. He has presented Indonesia abroad as a trade attaché in Berlin and previously guided international cooperation and strategic planning within the ministry.
Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putro.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings to all of us. Ibu Anna Amalia Agus, colleague from FEB University of Indonesia, and then Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, the Dean of the ADBI Institute, that we just hear his very valuable opening remarks, and Mr. Marco Kumia from the UNIDO, and Mr. Yuki Nugrahawan from Viata, and colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Pilwas, and also colleagues from mana Pak ya? From the DEN or from the University of Indonesia. So we just met with Pak Krishna a couple of hours ago in the ministry. We talked about the FTA issue and other trade talks with Pak Krishna. So good to see you here, Pak. Okay, and also colleagues and students who attend the 23rd Economics Global Economic Challenges. Very good afternoon. So first of all, I would like to sincerely thank to you for the kind invitation to speak at this very vibrant forum. It brings me back like 20 years ago. Well, I was neighbor to this university. I was studying in the Gunadarma University. We are neighbor in Depok. So it's very good to be back here again after 20 something years. So it is an honor for me to share insights and highlight key policies issued by the Ministry of Trade in responding to global challenges. Colleagues and friends, as we know, the global economic landscape today is facing serious challenges, slow growth, rising tariffs, especially coming from the American continent, supply chain disruptions, and changing trade rules. So based on McKinsey report, the world may lose up to $3 trillion in trade potential by 2035 without cooperation with other countries. This is a very clear signal that the world must realign its trade priorities, not only for profit, but also how to be resilient and balancing the trade among each other in the regions. In addition, I collected the data from the Boston Consulting Group, and UNCTAD shows that global trade is undergoing major challenges, including higher tariffs, major challenges like geopolitical risk, logistic problems. In this light, South Asia, coming from India, coming from Southeast Asia as well, is rising as a promising new economic hub. The region offers cost advantages, skilled labor, and improving infrastructure, making it very attractive for global businesses. It predicts that countries like India, Indonesia, Vietnam can capture a larger share of global trade by adapting quickly and building regional trade cooperation. On the other side, we also note that these economics have shown strong resilience during global shocks, providing their potential to drive inclusive and sustainable growth. With a forward-looking vision for trade and industry, Indonesia has committed to enhancing its position in the global value chain through a strategic initiative outlined in the 2025-2029 RPGMN, or we can call a midterm plan, with a target to raise our GVC global value chain participation from 0.8% to 1.2% by 2029. The government is focusing on the boosting exports of higher value added and more to technology-based products. Achieving this goal will require strong synergy among government institutions, industry stakeholders, and also academic experts, also from you guys, students, that can share your thought, share your research, share your discussion, and also opinion on how we can shape the better future. Developing stronger participation in global value chains requires smart trade policies, and FTA are one key instrument to achieve this. Indonesia has taken important steps by joining several regional and bilateral FTAs such as RCEP, Indonesia-Chile CEPA, ASEAN-Japan FTA, Indonesia-Australia CEPA, and also other FTA CEPA with other countries, which facilitate easier movement of goods, investment, and technology. Colleagues and students, as part of its national economic strategy, Indonesia aims to achieve 8% annual economic growth by 2029. In support of this, export performance is expected to grow by 7.1% in 2025 and 2026, the next 2 years, gradually reaching 9.64% by 2029. According to BPS, Statistic Indonesia, in the first half of 2025, Indonesia recorded a trade balance surplus of 19.48 billion US dollar in surplus, consisted of non-oil and gas surplus of 28.3 billion US dollar. Compared to the same period last year, we get non-oil and gas export rose by nearly 9%. This strong performance reflects the resilience of Indonesia's trade sectors, which has now maintained a trade surplus for 63 consecutive months since May 2020. Seeing the positive trend in our trade performance, it is important for all of us to maintain and strengthen this momentum. The Ministry of Trade is currently focusing on 3 key work programs. First, protecting the domestic market. Second, expanding export markets. And the third, strengthening SMEs under the UMKM Bisa Export. Bisa is abbreviation words of the berani inovasi, siap adaptasi, dare to innovate, ready to adapt. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and students, the Directorate General of National Export Development continues to implement a wide range of strategic programs to strengthen Indonesia's export ecosystem and expanding the export markets. Several programs worth mentioning are the Export Coaching Program, Halal and HACCP certification, and business intelligence reports. As part of our flagship promotional activities, we regularly and annually organize Trade Expo Indonesia, the country's largest B2B trade exhibition, which is this year will be organized in October from 15 to 19 in ICE BSD Tangerang. to connect with the Indonesian exporters with global buyers and showcasing high potential products to the world. To support Indonesian exporters, especially SMEs, the Ministry of Trade, together with our overseas trade representatives, has actively conducted pitching and business matching programs. From January to July 2025, we held 410 activities involving different and unique 773 SMEs across key industries including furniture, food processing, fisheries, cosmetics, healthcare, and modest fashion, that these efforts resulted in over than $90 million in recorded transactions. Meanwhile, our trade representatives around the globe, based in 46 offices across 33 countries, play a crucial role in this effort. Their mandate includes promoting Indonesian export, scouting global trends, and directly linking Indonesian businesses with buyers and partners worldwide. Colleagues and students, digital transformation is one of the key strategies in accelerating export performance. The Ministry of Trade has introduced INA Export. So we have a platform under the Ministry of Trade, we call it INA Export, and you can also access by clicking the www.inaexport.id. A digital matchmaking platform connecting verified Indonesian exporters with global buyers. INA Export is not just only a directory, but also an active trade facilitation tool managed by the ministry, including support from the Indonesian trade representatives around the world. To end my comments, geopolitical shifts today should not be seen only as obstacles, but also as opening for strategic trade expansion. This dynamic call for strong synergy between government, private sector, and the academic community, each contributing their unique strengths. By aligning practical knowledge, research, and innovation, Indonesia can strengthen its position and move forward with greater confidence in the global market. I congratulate for this very good momentum, 23rd International Dialogue in the Economics Global Economic Challenges, and I do hope you have a very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putra, for the exceptional opening remarks.
Before we continue to our next speaker, we would like to give an appreciation to Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putra.
Therefore, we kindly invite Ms. Anggia Putri, Chief Executive Officer to the 23rd Economics, to present a placard as a token of appreciation to Mr. Bayu Wicaksono Putra. And now, we will hear the keynote speech from Mr. Yuki Nugrawan Hanafi. Mr. Yuki Nugrawan Hanafi is the Vice President of PT Interport Mandiri Utama, overseeing a vast network of 23 subsidiary companies in the logistics and port sector.
He is a prominent leader in Indonesian industry, holding key roles such as Commissioner of PT Pelindo Solusi Logistik and advisor to the board of PT Das Bara Lestari Tbk. His distinguished career also includes serving as an advisor to the Indonesian Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources.
Mr. Hanafi's leadership extends to major national and international business organizations, where he serves as the Regional Asia-Pacific Chairperson for FIATA and the Deputy Chair of the Advisory Board for Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kadin.
He is a certified professional in this governance and logistics, holding a FIATA Higher Diploma in Supply Chain Management from Switzerland. Please welcome Mr. Yuki Nugrawan Hanafi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, My peace be upon us, Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya, Salam Kebajikan. Assalamualaikumnya tadi pada lemes ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Gitu dong. Tapi tadi pesannya suruh bahasa Inggris. Distinguished Buana, represent from the University of Indonesia, and also I would like to congratulate to both of you from the Canopy FBUI. Is excellent because during my university that we don't have any issue regarding the geopolitics and supply chains because it's already long time ago. So you learn so much, all of you. I am as the older than you, of course. I really proud of all of you, all the speakers, and from UNINDO representative, sub-regional office in Jakarta, Indonesia, Timor-Leste, and the Philippines, Dr. Marco. How are you? Pak Bambang, Prof. Bambang, is my friends, and also all the speakers, the participants, and of course, first of all, I would like to say thank you to the Canopy FBUI. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, the 23rd Global Economic Challenge. This is my second times. I believe 2 years ago, I was also one of the speakers with the different topics. So, revolutionizing supply chain, strategic admin global trade war, and of course, many of us have heard about the theme, the supply chains. But what actually is a supply chains? Yeah, let me walk you through a simple understanding. So at least we can have the same platform, right? The understanding of the supply chains. Supply chain is the journey. Every goods or product that you or us use, where eat, drive, buy, or sell, it is essentially everything that takes a journey from the very beginning as raw material to be product or goods. Actually, we had also the big impact, not only of the geopolitics, but if we remember during the COVID times, right, that's we are actually the logistic or supply chains, we learned already about that situation. I believe you from the Minister of Trade, that time, I remember the presidential degree have the 10 industry, but they forget one thing about logistic. So that time I was the chair of the Indonesia Logistic and Forwarder Association. I said, who gonna be bring that goods? If not logistic industry, not put under the presidential degree. So I'm glad that time that the 11 activity regarding the industry and we passed. Thank you to the government. If not, that time even the vaccine cannot be bring outside from the airport, right? So we enjoy so much on goods as the result of the smooth supply change process since the globalization process in the 90s. Actually, if I'm not wrong, supply chains have the 11 indicator. Logistics is only one of part of the supply chains, right? We have number one, I put the geopolitics, right? So it's always be reflected to the geopolitics. Even the interest part from the bank loan is also impact regarding all the costs. Logistic itself, transportation, right? Insurance, many things, if 12. The most important also the commitment of the government also is very important. But what if think about this one day, it is difficult to get your iPhone, Xiaomi, for example, or as a businesses, it is hard to export your fashion good to abroad. This is this topic is our main focus of the day to explore strategic and supply chain management. I just want to ask you first, who going to always have buying a ticket by digital? Can you raise your hand? It's only 20%? No, I don't believe it. Maybe 90% from all of us, including me, even that I'm GovTech, GovTech, but I'm still using the online. I was remember 2014, I was a chair of Indonesia Logistic and Forwarder Association. In the front of the member of Jakarta, I'm asking the same question, right? So attending by 1,200 company that time. So everybody was mentioned they are using the digital. So I said to them, do you realize that in the many people losing a job? Losing a job because we are enjoying using the digital. But it's okay. We have to adapting. Then mentioned Pak Bambang, Bu Ana, and also you was mentioned before. Yeah, we have to adapting. So you, as the young generation, yeah, is more compete than our generation. So you have to be more learn about this situation, adapting the situation, because that time the many travel agents, especially the small one, if not give any value added, they will collapse. It's the same thing with you. If you not learn day by day, you can lose the competitiveness. You like my family, yeah, you are the future of this nation. So I believe that you have to be more focusing, not only talking about the economic, but HR is always put in number one, to understanding. Yang suka bolos-bolos, kurangin bolosnya. Saya juga dulu suka bolos kok, nggak apa-apa. Yang lain nggak boleh, ya kan? So back to the few months ago in April that we have we have heard about the Liberation Day, especially from the US, right? Universal tariff policy aimed at the importing goods from the other country coming to the US. And back the few months ago, too, we have seen the intensive geopolitical landscape, particularly in the Middle East, which affect the global strategic shipping route. Together, these two developments have accelerated the critical shift in the global change strategy. Bapak is mentioned before, it has shifted how the global supply chains are designed, managed, and secured. Actually, before the US, it's happened. We also have war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. Don't forget about that. And 30%, 40% maybe, Pak, yeah? What we call it gabah, yeah? Or gandum, sorry, is import from East Europe. You can imagine that we have also the problem with that. Who sometimes go by the mie goreng, yeah, that what of the raw material. Maybe the price is little bit higher, but you never check that, right? And then also that together these two developments, like I mentioned before, the imposition of the broad-based US tariff has placed pressure the global exporter, pushing both multinational corporations and governments to reconsider their dependencies and vulnerabilities within the global trade system. It has not only raised costs for exporters, but also undermined long-standing trade relationship. Then, escalating tension in the critical choke point like the Red Sea, the Strait of Hormuz, and surrounding trade lanes have exposed just how fragile, Pak Bambang also mentioned, global logistic and supply chains can be. I was scary, but I was going to St. Petersburg, I think last month with President Prabowo also. I just want to go home directly because that time is a war between, between Iran and Israel, right? So it's not about goods, also people. Yeah, you can imagine that. So we have to turn around almost 4 hours because we cannot pass through that situation. I'm lucky, then I can go home, right? So the revolution of the key maritime route, such as the Strait of Hormuz and the Suez Canal, has led the increased interest in multimodal logistics, over land, road, and digital supply chain tools that improve agility to risk forecasting. The result is clear. Global supply chains are no longer optimized for the cost alone. They are being rebuilt for the resilience, adaptability, and strategic autonomy. This transformation marked the beginning of the more fragmented, yet the smarter trade era, where alliance, geography, and technology will define the new flow of the goods across border. The global governments and businesses must adopt bold, coordinated strategies to negative this evolving landscape. For the government, focusing on the trade diversification and regional trade agreement are critical and urgent to ensure the globalization, the free trade remain the global norms. Congratulations to government within the 15 years that we have negotiation with EU, finally last month that we have done with the signing. Give me applause lah. ASEAN, BRICS, UA, CEPA, I mentioned before, African continental, don't forget, FTA can be treated as strategic trading blocks, but I'm happy I'm living in the region Asia Pacific because now the trade 65% ya Pak ya, in the Asia Pacific. So actually we don't need the US and Europe. We can leave our side here, right? So I mean, be strong. Yeah, the geopolitics is always be there. Maybe in the future, the economic is more heavy than the last 10 years. Yeah, don't blame the government. This is our homework. The geopolitics is so, so it will be continuity with the issue that we have in the future. For businesses, yeah, the terms of diversification of the supply, new market will help to overcome dependency to single region. Africa is really interesting, right? We have South Africa, we have Tanzania, we have many countries there. Yeah, even the many countries others there. Therefore, the adoption of digitalization and technologies such as AI, don't forget, predictive analytics and blockchains will improve the decision-making process of the business expansion while effectively reducing costs and risks. I recently come back from the business trip from China. In the logistic and supply chain sector, I witnessed the very effective and efficient logistic operation in the most China big port. AI can help to increase efficiency in time management for dwelling time reduce, the risk choosing route management for shipping global 24/7 hours, global customer services, automation, and more. So it's easy to check by ChatGPT if you have some container numbers, and then you know exactly what inside. Yeah, if you want to check your goods. These developments are critical to be adopted also here in Indonesia. In this new era of economic nationalism and geopolitical unpredictability, resilience, and innovation have become the new currency of the global trade. Therefore, government and businesses that act now by repressing their trade architecture and investing in the strategic supply chain transformation will be the ones of the best position not just to survive turbulence, but not to lead, but to lead in emerging global order. Today, the future global landscape, the supply chain is no longer just about cost. Pak Bambang is already mentioned. I don't want to go for the detail. Cost efficiency is about survival, resilience, strategic independence. The trade war we're witnessing aren't just the tariff dispute. They are representing how the where we produce, move, and delivery value. Businesses can no longer afford to depend on the single geography or the fragile global link. This is the moment revolutionary to rethink our supply chains, not a linear pipeline, but as adaptive, intelligent network. It's mean embarking, not hurrying, diversifying suppliers, and leveraging technology like AI or automation. It's also mean aligning with the trade partner base and reliability, not just price. While trade tension divide innovation must connect. Those who lead this revolution will define the future of the global commerce, one where supply chains are not only efficient, but agile, ethical, and the future-proof. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Yuki, for the wonderful keynote speech. Now, we will hear the keynote speech from Mr. Marco Camia.
Mr. Marco Camia is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization UNIDO representative in Jakarta for Indonesia, Timor-Leste, and in liaison with the Asian Secretariat. He was UNIDO's Chief of Digital Transformation and AI Strategies Division.
He is also a senior member of the United Nations Economist Network, UNIN, in New York, and a fellow of Cambridge University's Industrial Innovation Policy in the UK.
Marco Camia's academic foundation is built upon prestigious studies in international development and economics, having focused on international development at Harvard University and earned a PhD in economics.
This powerful educational combination provides him with a unique expertise in both the practical frameworks of global development policy and the rigorous analytical methods of advanced economic theory. Now, please welcome Mr. Marco Camia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Officers, senior officers, professors, students. I think it's a great time. It's a great time today, 2025, to be a student, and to be a student just preparing to go for a professional life, because many things that you will see are going to change dramatically in the future. It is not now. I think you are going to see enormous changes in economic development, economic trajectory of different countries. You are going to see all the changes and the impact of artificial intelligence, and you are going to see a massive reorganization of the multilateral system. This will be something that will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So it will be very interesting times, but also brings a big responsibility for you who are going to be in the professional world very soon. I want to say that one of the most important things is the role of the university. The role of the university is to provide specific tools and analysis in order to improve the policy making. And this is something that will depend on you. When we see the forecast from the World Bank, from the OECD, on the trajectory of the economy of Indonesia, we see that the region that is going to grow faster in the world is Southeast Asia. So this is the region that is going to grow faster. But this is just a forecast. So you consider that Whether this forecast is fulfilled depends on the effort that you will do later in professional life. I'm going to explain in 10 minutes a question that I was asked to answer is, what specifically Indonesia can do in order to react to the global trade war? How to reorganize supply chains? And maybe this is very general, but I just want to provide you with elements that you can use then and take home and think about it, because this is something that I don't have the answer. This is something that nobody has the answer. When I study economics, nobody mentioned about geonomics, but now almost every day we are asked to integrate political analysis with economics, and this is something that we have to learn on the job training. It's something that we have to do quickly in order to respond to these new challenges. Well, if I'm asked what are the three main elements that we have to take into account in order to reorganize our supply chain, is number one, strengthen regional and national supply chains. Maintain export-led growth in Southeast Asia, and improve the supply chain digitalization and physical infrastructure. Professor Bambang also mentioned about this, and then Pafayardi, Payuki, who preceded me, also mentioned this, but let me just quickly explain on each of these. Number one, strengthening regional and national supply chains. What is important is to identify the industries that can be scaled up. So what kind of industry we have? And this is not what we imagine that is industry, but we have to do this using all the tools, all the analytical methods that we have in economics in order to understand what are the industries that can be scaled up. Second is to strengthen the platform that enterprises has and also improve the enterprise ecosystem. And then with all these elements, so we can scale up regional production platforms. So this is number one, strengthening regional and national supply chains. Number two is maintaining export-led growth in Southeast Asia. So it's important that this trade war that Indonesia, Southeast Asia is having with large economies and high-income country, it doesn't become also that occurs among countries in Southeast Asia. This is very important because not necessarily the interests of the different countries are the same, and also the levels of GDP are different, but it's important that common view on trade and investment and maintain the export-led growth in this region. Number three is advance on supply chain digitalization and physical infrastructure. And this is always a priority if you want to improve the conditions of the region. Physical infrastructure is essential. There is a lot to be done. Not necessarily the development banks that are there, Asian Development Bank or the World Bank, are able to cope with the enormous needs of the region to provide this physical infrastructure that is needed. And on the other hand, when I said digitalizing supply chain, is to provide all companies, large corporations, but mostly small and medium enterprises, with a platform that allows to link each other in the country, but not only in Southeast Asia with the rest of the world. So it's absolutely important that Indonesia and Southeast Asian countries advance on supply chain, digitalization, and physical infrastructure. When we analyze, and one of the speakers that precedes me also mentioned, is the structure of trade. And when we see the trade that Indonesia has with the United States, is mostly composed of raw materials or not much complex materials. So you can see this in the Atlas of Economic Complexity. Different shades of orange indicates less complex, different shades of blue indicates more complex. And when you see what the United States is exporting to Indonesia, it's a little bit more complex, but not necessarily are very advanced products that are coming to Indonesia. On the contrary, when we see the trade that Indonesia has with China, what Indonesia is exporting to China is mostly low complexity products. And this is what you see in the figures. But when you see what China is exporting to Indonesia, is almost at all levels, so light manufacturing, high manufacturing. So this is something that there is a space, and I'm not saying that this can trigger a trade war, but this is something that ASEAN can enter into a discussion with China in order to balance trade, in order to see how to reduce trade deficit and how these negotiations can play in favor of Southeast Asia, because it's also in the interest of countries like China to have a trade balance with the regional partners. I want to mention three things that is important when we think about supply chain. First is on the ecosystem. So we say that supply chain has to be reorganized, but we don't say how long will it take. And one example that I want to bring is the example of the supply chain of TSMC semiconductors in Kumamoto, Japan. It only took 2 years to bring a company, TSMC, and create something that is called JAMS. This is the company that is producing semiconductors in Kumamoto, but immediately universities has to produce engineers, technology transfer, so people has to be trained, and this was done in 2 years. But this was done in 2 years because already in Kumamoto and in Japan, there is already an ecosystem that is relatively easy to attract this investment. But the second is on the volume. And one example I want to bring to the table is Apple in China. And if you haven't read it yet, you can read a book that is called Apple in China, or is the story of how iPhone has been produced in China. And it's interesting to see that the investment that Apple invested in China is similar in amount to the investment that the United States invested in Western Europe after the Second World War for reconstruction. That this is the Plan Marshall. So enormous amount of money has been invested in China to produce the iPhone. But one key element on this is the volume that China offers in order to produce almost 50 million iPhones every year. So this, when we discuss in Indonesia about reorganizing supply chain, we also have to think about the capability in terms of volume that the economy has. Maybe we have, maybe we not. We have to see how we can address this. Finally, an important consideration, and I know Dean Bambang, Professor Bambang studied urban planning, was a senior policymaker in Indonesia, but one of the things we have to consider is that Indonesia is not Jakarta. Yeah? And the productivity of the city.
Once again, thank you to Mr. Marco Camia.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now enter the moderated session of the seminar titled Revolutionizing Supply Chain Strategies Amidst Global Trade War.
This session will be moderated by Mr. Krishna Gupta.
Mr. Krishna Gupta currently serves as a Senior Research Fellow at the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies. He also lectures at Universitas Indonesia and Politeknik APP Jakarta.
In addition, he also previously held positions as policy analyst at the Asian Development Bank, lead economist at CHIPS, and economist at CHIPS.
Please welcome Mr. Krishna Gupta.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Greetings, my name is Krishna Gupta. Lots of people call me Imed as well. I've been lecturing here at UE quite some time, so some of you are probably my students at some point. Great to see a lot of people here trying to listen about the state of, trade and globalization. So please have an applause for all of us for being here today in the afternoon. Okay, so I'm a moderator. Probably I'll have to take a seat over here. Okay, so I'm very lucky to be a moderator here. I'm going to introduce my three speakers. I have three exceptional dudes over here. So I will first introduce my quite close friend, Mr. Riyandi Laksono. Please step forward, my friend. A round of applause. He's a... So yeah, we both studied at the ANU, so I kind of already know what he's going to say. But yeah, Riyandi is a... please have a seat. Riyandi is a researcher at CSIS, household name, Center for Strategic and International Studies. He focuses on trade, industry, and private sector development. He got his PhD at the ANU a couple of years after me. In June 2025, studying the impact of trade liberalization in Indonesia's export growth to China post-WTO accessions. 15 years experience across national and international institutions. Wow. His research interests span trade, industrial, and macroeconomic policies. Thank you for being here, Riyandi. Secondly, I would like to invite Bapak Andre Simangunsong. Pak, please. Go forward. Please applause, guys. Thank you so much. Welcome, Pak. Pak Andre is the head of Mandarin Institute. He leads the bank research initiatives on consumer spending and digitalization. Prior to Mandiri, he was a consultant and economist at several international organizations, including the World Bank, Knowledge Sector, and IPEG. Thank you, Pak Andre. Looking forward. And last but not least, calling Mr. Aloysius Selwas Taborat. Please join us, guys. Round of applause again. Mr. Taborat is a coordinator for defense and security treaties at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, overseeing Indonesia's international law policies on sovereignty and defense cooperations. He has served consecutively as the third and second secretary at the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Indonesia to the United Nations in New York. He also represented Indonesia in the Economic and Social Council of the UN. A Fulbright scholar, holds a law degree from the University of Indonesia and an LLM in U.S. National Security Law from American University. Thank you for being here, Pak Aloysius. Now, I will ask a couple of questions to these gentlemen, and they will respond to that, and you guys will listen, okay? Now, after that, I'm going to open the Q&A for the floor, and I'm hoping like a very good participations from all of you, okay? And then, yeah, basically I will show these guys where to put the mics, who's gonna ask the questions. Okay, so I will start with open questions about the US, the elephant in the room. So we've been talking about the need for the Southeast Asia to keep expanding as an export hub, something like that from Mr. Marco Camia, right? And being an export hub is a pretty hard deal without anyone to buy. And US has been like a strong buyers of consumer goods, right? So with the US starting to go inward-looking trade policies, putting tariffs everywhere, disrupting trade, what's the likely consequences for global economic stability and especially to like emerging powers like Indonesia, right? Like middle powers. And how to respond to that? Because US and of course the other elephant is China. They're too big and we're sort of feeling the wave of of both of them, but specifically to the US because they buy a lot of stuff from Southeast Asia and Indonesia in particular. So, on to that questions, how to respond, how's the effect. I would probably put the spotlight to Mr. Riyandi first. Yes, of course, please, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Because we know each other, or?
Of course.
Thank
Basically
you.
what you told me like a couple of days
Yeah.
before.
Thank you everyone that's coming already now. Thank you for the invitation. So I was very humbled today to come to this event because 17 years ago, I was sitting there, coming from my university and watching the economic seminar, and little did I know, 17 years forward, I will sit here. So thank you for the invitation again. Can we move to the next slide, please? Next slide. Next slide. Okay, talking about the implication. I think many people already understand the implication, but let me just reiterate again why we should care more about this today. First, the impact will be directly felt through trade channel. Because US is a big buyers, the trade volume will be going down and it will impact global trade. That's no brainer, that's very, very clear. But then, the first effect after that, where is China going to sell the additional products? This is now already being felt by many countries due to the export diversion coming from China to US, because they cannot export again, they need to redirect it to other countries, Indonesia, ASEAN, and other countries. So there is this issue of dumping and also very cheap goods of China. This is second round of effect. But then the broader impact is the trade governance itself. US already imposed reciprocal tariff, right? Reciprocal tariff. And then don't forget, it's not only the tariff, but also the transshipment. Remember, transshipment is very important, even more important than the tariff, I would argue. Because why transshipment is basically a rules that you cannot just transship your goods out of China and through your border. But that means you need to determine where the good is coming from, right? So the game changed from simply tariff to originating, right? Determining originating is not that easy. So the US will set their own rules of determining origin, and the rest also will set their own rules. So we end up with like a bifurcated trade regime or fragmented trade regimes. That's even more serious, and I can say it's quite costly, not only costly, but also very uncertain for business players. But also there is new risk of subsidy war and also another tariff retaliation and stuff. But the second, also more important, I think, for Mandiri as well, is the risk of macroeconomics. Because it's so uncertain now, people just hold back investment, people hold back consumption. We end up, remember the formula, Y, C, I, G, and X? So C and I go down, they hold back, then aggregate demand go down. That's why you are keep asking why the 5.12%, right? Why it going up while the world is going down. So I think that's macroeconomic also clear. But it's not only all gloomy. There is this potential of investment reallocation coming out of China to do what? To anticipate future escalation. The supply chain shift already happening since the Trump 1.0. I will show you later the graph. So there is opportunity, but again, the transshipment also an issue here, because it's not that easy to just move factory out of China. If too many materials coming out of China, then you will impose 40%. That's the rate of transshipment. So unless you can prove that your material is not all from China, you will impose by 40%. So remember, the real rate is not 19%. It's 40% until you prove it's not coming from everything from China. Okay, this is the major difference that government did not tell you completely. Okay, next. So I want to answer the second question, right? Should we also turn inward? I think this is very important point. We should ask ourselves, is it true that just because everybody turn inward, should we turn inward? I would propose the other way around. Not because of Ricardo, not because of Paul Krugman, not because of all those grand theory that they teach you in school, but based on realism. Like just Marco said before, we need growth, we need industrialization. What does that mean? We need export market, right? If you need export market, you need trade. Am I right? Trade is two-way road. If you want to export, you must be willing to accept import. If you shut down your border, they will not buy your product. Simple as that. As much as you hate WTO these days, but the core principle is still there. If you want to sell, you will have to be willing to buy. All right? That's the first. We need export. And where does that export coming from? As a developing economies, we do not have that privilege that the US has. The US has Apple, has Nvidia, they has all the patents. They hold all the patents, right? So when they ask the factory to come back, they can come back, right? But if us, who do we have? Who? Right? Who do we have to ask to go back? No one going outside even, right? Now, they're going outside for good. They're going to Vietnam for good because labor cost is getting more expensive here. But the point is, they have someone. Donald Trump has Tim Cook. They has like Mandela or the guy from Nvidia to push and to go back to the US, right? But we do not have that. So we do not have the privilege of reshoring. That's what I want to highlight here. We are not at the same level as those advanced economies, even including China. China nowadays has a lot of patents. Sometimes in the future, if all production facilities go out, they can ask to go back. So I don't think we should turn inward. In fact, we should double down on deregulation. Why? Because the factory will go out of China. So those factories that are looking for a new place needs to be facilitated. Without a conducive investment climate and a promise to keep trade open, they will not go to Indonesia. And that has been the evidence. We failed to capitalize on the opportunity of Trump 1.0. So my simple answer to that, no, but we should double down on deregulation and going outward. This is now the prime time to show the world that we are a prime investment location. This is not the time. It's not selling our soul. It's not at all. We need the money. Why? Because people need jobs. We guys need jobs, and jobs coming from investment, as easy as that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Riyandi. Now I will over to Pak Andre, right? How the impact of US, how should we respond? Over to you, Pak Andre.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. I think, first of all, thank you very much to Canopy and FEB UI inviting me in this event. I think this is very great to be here. I once a committee for Economix. Yeah, 2 times. Yeah, so very happy to see. I mean, same like Riyandi. I sit here on different side. I think 20 years ago. Yeah. So if you 18, you're not too far away. Yeah. Yeah. You're too old. Yeah. But this is very interesting topic. Yeah. Because I know that I think some of you still study about international economics, and part of that you studying about international trade, global trade, and you study what it is to be more advanced in global trade. Yeah, how do you analyze what is the absolute advantage, what is the comparative advantage of international trade? Yeah, that's all has a theoretical or analytical foundation. Yeah, and then in April, Trump comes. Yeah, the Trump's policy. Yeah, it turns like upside down all those theory. So there is no what you call it, David Ricardo, or all trade economics prominence theory about international trade is not applicable for Trump. Yeah, so that's why I will say in short, it's also important to study about political economy. Yeah, because what Trump introduced to us, to everyone in the world, it's a new normal for global trade. That supply chain or international trade doesn't have to be look for how to be more efficient global trade, how to look for economic of scales, like Riyandi said before. Yeah, but sometimes international trade or policy to look for new market, it depends on the domestic policy. Yeah, it depends on the geopolitical landscape. Yeah, because I don't like China. to be a dominant superpower, compete with US, maybe Trump said, okay, we have to get rid of China, yeah, in every way, yeah. So in all costs. So that's why US and Trump introduced this kind of new type of global trade. It's a new normal, yeah. It's based on domestic orientation, yeah. It's based on geopolitical landscape, yeah. Now, so the question is about, yeah, what's the impact? Well, of course, I think some of you join the financial market. I mean, some of you maybe already participate in stock trading, or maybe bonds trading, or maybe crypto. So you must know that what happened in April is not directly hit our macroeconomic indicators, but the first hit goes to the financial market. If you take a look what happened in the IDX, the stock market, what happened in our exchange rate, yeah. So the first day after, when we enter the working days after, I think the Liberation Day introduced at Lebaran holiday, yeah, yeah, 7 of April, yeah, and then because it's holiday and when stock market open on Monday, it's just decline like I think 4 or 5% if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So that's the channel that the first that everyone must understand. Financial market is first hit, yeah, because every country now connected, every sectors, yeah. But always financial market, currency market, money market is more sensitive compared to real sectors. Okay. Now the second question is about, I think.
What should we do? You think, like?
Okay. So this is the common question, I mean, and frequent question to everyone. What we should do, yeah. What we should do? Should we move toward the inward-looking policy? I don't think so, yeah. I think everyone also have heard about the story of Argentina, the story about Brazil, the story about African countries, or maybe some ASEAN economics like I think Myanmar or some of them that rely on protectionism, rely on implying like high tariff or non-tariff barrier to import goods. So this is like at the short term, maybe it give benefit to domestic economy, You protect the infant industry, you make sure that the jobs still there, and that the domestic economy, domestic companies still can survive, because basically there is no competition from importing goods or maybe more competitive goods. But if you take a look at the long term, take some lesson from those countries, you know that it's not going to be forever, okay? Because we know that this policy is not give room for innovations, lack of competitions, and you give protection actually not to domestic industry, you give protection to the incompetitiveness. So that's very important to know, because I know, at the third year and the fourth year, you guys need to study, take some, example what happened in other countries, maybe, analyze in detail, because like Pak Marco said that at the end we need to look or to apply our analytical tools and methods to be more specific case, So don't take a look at the, general broad questions, but take a look, what is the case, what is the example, aside from Indonesia, or maybe what kind of sector that actually can benefit from this kind of situations, okay? So this is more important to look for in the future. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Andre. Of course, then I'll move to Aloysius, please. What's your take, mate?
Okay. Thank you so much. Greetings to everyone. Unfortunately, I don't have the luxury or privilege to say that I was among you or part of the organizing committee for this Economix, but I am proud alumni of this university, but just from a different faculty. I'm a graduate of Faculty of Law, and then I think I am an outlier in this very distinguished panel. But I'm very humbled and honored to be among you. And then I just remember when I entered the Faculty of Law of University of Indonesia, there was a saying: if you want to be an engineer, you go to Faculty of Technic. If you want to be a lawyer, then you go to Faculty of Law. But if you want to be a minister, you go to FAUE. So congratulations. So welcome to all the students, and then as you go down your study path, I just wish you all the best, and then this is just the right momentum to start your academic year. I think the question by Pak Moderator essentially has two important points, and I believe my fellow speakers have addressed, and also I think in Pak Marco's introductions as well, on the likely consequences, and then on what country should do. I think it is safe for me, it is convenient for me as part of the government to say that the essence is to have the right mentality and to have the right attitude as a country, as a state, as a outlook. Coming from foreign ministry, I think I can say that ever since the beginning of Bapak Prabowo presidency, the attitude is quite similar with his predecessor, which can be encapsulated in the dictum of one enemy is too much, few friends are too less, I guess, something like that. So with that, the attitude was that to approach this kind of, I think the idea of disruption. This is the kind of idea of disruptions when not only, I think Pak Moderator said, this is elephant in the room. Not only an elephant in the room, but one of the biggest elephant in the rooms. So when the United States, you call it, choose an inward-looking trade policies, I think it's really up for every government, including Indonesia, to start with, to deal with the issue as it is, not as one might wish for. We have to deal with the reality. When the reciprocal tariffs hit us, I think the government, rather than detaching itself from all the processes, it engaged itself in the negotiations. And then as you know, we only got 32% if I was right. But I think that is the kind of attitude we have to tackle the issue head on. And then if you see the foreign policy maneuvers of the current government, it diversifies its alignments. Not only that it stick with the United Nations, but it also dealt with BRICS. It became members of BRICS, while at the same time we are speeding up our accession to the OECD. And then with all these kind of new alignments and then new engagement, I believe the issue of supply chain could be seen in a comprehensive manner. Because I remember Pa Bambang Projonegoro, as well Pa Yuki and also Pa Marco, that supply chain is not only about moving things across the borders, but also about the workers, it's about the economy, so on and so forth. I myself, I guess, I was in New York when the pandemic hit early in 2020. And then suddenly, out of nothing, the government, the US government turned inward. I think it began far before now, before the reciprocal tariff. So everyone was for themselves, including when it comes to vaccines and personal protective equipment. I guess this is the kinds of reality, but diplomacy, and then diplomacy doesn't stop. I think we even during the hard times, we're trying to secure our supply and negotiating. It wasn't by, we have to negotiate it. So I think the key word will be we face this with the right mentality. Thank you, Pak Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Aloysius. Now, I think I'm going to ask the next question is a little bit moving towards HI kind of, questions, right? Because these days, economics, typically we say, oh, we do this because efficiency, but then, like a political problem starts to kick in, trumps over efficiency, and we now have some sort of a geoeconomics, right? And remaining open, so far ASEAN has been managing quite all right between these two giants, right? And as Aloysius just mentioned, we open ourselves to some sort of a pain point, to say the least, if we rely on lots of countries, like other countries relies on us. In this context, what risks do we have if we remain heavily dependent on each other's, right at the time where the two giants are starting to, looking inwards? What's the main challenges? And can we still sort of navigate between these two? But lastly, I also want to ask about institution, like a global institution-ish, of course the WTO, but also ASEAN, right? Can we use ASEAN as a platform to navigate this? So yeah, this is basically a little bit, international relations into the mix. So yeah, probably I'll hand over to Iriandi as well. You probably have CIS, SAS colleagues that talk about this, right?
I'm more like a student in this field rather than an expert, because as Pak Marco said, we all learn on the job. Suddenly everything become securitized and geopoliticized, and suddenly geoeconomics is more trendy than international trade. So I have to admit that I'm not the trade guy, I'm geoeconomics guy these days. So yeah, so I want to bring you to the next, next slide again. Next, yes. So we did study in CSIS about strategic dependency. So to answer that, I want to bring up 2 points. First, I think I agree that efficiency can no longer be the main guiding principle for international trade. But I also argue that that's not new. This has been going on for some time, but we are more aware these days compared to before. That's first. But we need to pay attention that what we mean by security as a developing economies is different to what the US means by economic security. What US means by economic security is technology, right? And defense security. But for us, it's food security. It's energy security. It's day-to-day job security even. So like managing energy self-sufficiency or energy security, food security and stuff is much more important from our side compared to technological decoupling or having to produce your own chipset and stuff. So as Indonesia, how should we position ourselves to see this economic security stuff? I think what we offer is, yes, we can see economic security as public goods. Remember the theory of public goods. Public goods is where you have this positive externality, where this is okay for government to intervene, right? So it is okay to intervene in public goods because there is this merits of trading off a little bit efficiency for a longer term security. But in what sectors and in what aspects and with who are we going to trade like that? So, and the second part is I want to argue that security, yes, but reducing dependency also not without its risk, okay? So I want to give you an overview, next, about situation of dependency in Indonesia. So this is the figure of our trade dependency and investment dependency. So our trade profiles are not diversified enough, and our investment profile also not diversified enough. Probably those two are interrelated. Our investment is mostly coming from China-related economies because it's either coming from Hong Kong, Singapore, or China. Probably those three countries having the same source, which is China, right? Singapore is just to divert the money or some sort. So China's related investment, what I can say. Export concentrated to China and import concentrated also to China, even though USA, the US economy buy more of our product compared to we import from the US. Next. This is the import of semiconductors. We predominantly it's coming from China, the US, and also from the regional provider is Philippines. Half or more of the export of Philippines is in semiconductors. That's how giant they are, and also Malaysia as well. So next. So that's overall perspective. But what about supply chain? Which countries are we depending upon? in terms of sourcing our materials. So there is this term called foreign value added in our gross exports, meaning how much you source your material from outside compared to domestic. For Vietnam, it's almost 50% coming from foreign materials. For us, it's much lower, it's 11%. But from China, out of those 11%, 25% is coming from China. So remember the transshipment that I mentioned to you. If Indonesia is deemed only transshipping goods, it will break down our entire supply chain because 1/4 of materials coming from China. Okay, so next. What about the output side? Okay, this is the products that we sell to the US most. So this morning we heard that we don't need US, we still need US. I can assure you we still need US, and we don't need EU, we still need EU. For a fact, there is no other global buyers that wants to buy our footwear and our textile other than the EU. Okay, that's why the EU deal is making so much sense. Okay, so that's coming in at the right time, at the right moment. Okay, so but next, so those are the buyer profile. The next one is the EU other than US. So you have 3 choices to diversify your supply chain. First, shut down your borders, produce everything here. Okay, that's not an option because other people will retaliate. Other countries will retaliate. Okay, so you need diversification, either from output or from the input side. But diversification is easier said than done. We already tried to do this for 20 more years, but the China share in our export is keeping increasing. See, so it's easier said than done. Okay, what's the next option? Localization. It's not shutting border, but more local content, for example. So the point here is, it's not per se wrong, but at what cost, right? At what cost? If it is going to make you more expensive, then it will cost you your export market. Take a look at cell phone and take a look at automobile example. We already conduct local content for automobile for 20 more years, okay? But we never being able to be a competitive exporter for those 20 years, okay? So the other perspective is to reshore everything back or localizing and produce domestically. I want to tell you, I want to share my opinion that shifting supply chain domestically do not remove risk. It only shifts risk, okay? If at all, it can improve, it can raise the risk because imagine all production is being geographically concentrated in one location. Indonesia is natural disaster prone, right? So remember this, there is no such thing as free lunch, it only shifting the risk. So yes, reducing dependency is important, but it's not without its risks and challenges. That's the point that I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Riandi. Before I go to Andre, please, after Andre and then Aloysius, I'm going to give the mic to you guys, so please prepare some questions, all right? Please, Andre.
Yeah, just want to add some flavors from Riandi. I think this is very good explanation from everyone here to study about what is good for us. Is it we focus on the one thing, focus on the reshoring or friendshoring or what you call it, any shoring that you can call it anywhere. But if anyone can recall what happened to Philippines and Malaysia, this is like the tale of 2 ASEAN countries but different fate. Yeah, remember what happened to Philippines? Because again, the quote from Pak Muhammad Hatta, yeah, rowing between 2 reef, yeah, mendayung di antara 2 karang. So the point is we don't take a side. Yeah, if you take one side of those 2 giants, the other giant will get mad. Okay. And that's what happened to Philippines. Yeah, Philippines take a side, U.S. side, because he comments on the China position to Taiwan. And take a look what happened to Philippines in the last 2 years. They have dispute or maybe a little bit sea war with China in Southeast China Sea. Yeah. Because of that, because Philippines take a side. But take a look what happened to Malaysia. Malaysia never say anything about Chinese position, never said anything about the US position, but what happened in the last 2 years is, doesn't matter, yeah. Intel come to Malaysia to invest in, semiconductor factory, yeah. TSMC also, yeah. I don't know. I think other Chinese semiconductor factory also come to Malaysia, just to diverse their supply chain. Okay, so this is what I said about. Again, this is the marriage between the economic theory and the political economy. But right now the political economy becomes, play more important part of the consideration of the global business players. Okay, if they want to expand their business to other countries, they will consider this consideration. Okay, is it sensitive for them? Yeah, if they move to Philippines, yes, of course, because right now they have dispute with China, and China is very sensitive now to Philippines. Okay, but Indonesia is a different story, of course, because this is more like economic reason, I think. Yeah, from the labor skills, about the more domestic economy orientation, yeah, and maybe about the cost of doing business in Indonesia. So I would say that again, the most important thing is, yes, we need to diverse our supply chain. Yeah, it's not good to be rely on one or maybe a few partners if you talk about the export or import, because this is also again just a little bit story about why I think 2-3 years ago it's very hard to for the global automakers, yeah, to push their production. Although at the time everyone had already recover from COVID, yeah. So economic already tried to jump up, and everyone looking for vehicle, yeah. But global automakers like Honda, maybe Ford, yeah, they have difficulties to create cars or motorcycle because of the lack of chip production, yeah. Because at the time, yeah, the single source of chip production, that's from Taiwan, yeah. And that's why right now everyone try to diverse their production facility, build the factory in Malaysia, build factory in US, yeah, build factory in countries that they feel is not sensitive enough for US and China. Okay, I think I'll stop here. Okay.
Thank you. Please, Aloysius, stage is yours now.
Thank you, Pak Krishna. I guess Pak Riyandi and then Pak Andre as well brought a very important points. I think 2 important points from them. First, Pak Riyandi's, I think he stresses on the importance of always knowing the consequences, the risk in any decisions. While Pak Andre talked about the importance of prudence by mentioning an example of one of the country which choose side with one of the great powers. And for me, I guess the only thing that I would like to add into the discussion is about do not fall into, an easy, how should I say it? Sometimes there is, there is a conception that if we befriend certain countries, then we will be good, we'll be fine. But if you follow the developments recently, even India was sanctioned by the United States. Even UK was not sanctioned, but was imposed with reciprocal tariffs. UK was imposed with reciprocal tariff, even though India was a security partner of the US in its own region in Quad. So I think this kind of developments really tells us that security is one thing, but economic driven interests, the idea of feeding a population is also quite prevalent nowadays. This is something that we have to understand as we, just Pak Andre said, trying to work on our decisions. Because if I may again quote Pa Prabowo, I guess the administration is really focuses on resilience on both energy and as well as food resilience, not only security, not only food or energy security, but resilience. I guess it is two different concepts. I think economists and then economics student very well, understand the difference. But from me, I guess from foreign policy-wise, this is a game changer. This kind of understanding is a game changer. That is why, if you see the first tour of visits of our president of Indonesia, I think he also diversify. Not only that we diversify our supply chain, but I think he's trying to diversify the visit, not to focus on some of the countries. So I guess this is, I think, my contribution to this already well-versed speakers next to my side. I think the idea of, do not fall trap into like easy conceptions, easy generalizations, but we have to, speak with numbers. I think Pak Yuki in his keynote address, emphasis about the importance of dealing with numbers, about the reality of supply chain. We might know that, this is about geopolitics, so on and so forth, but we have to really look at the numbers. And Pa Marco as well, I guess, in his points about so many things, I guess, which I echo and I concur as well. Thank you, Pa Krishna.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, still need to somehow navigate. Let's hope we can still do it. Starting to get a little bit, harder to actually navigate. But anyway, now I will open to the floor. Please, if you have questions, raise your hand. And one of my fellas is gonna give you mic. Let me know your name, your questions, and who you direct your question to. Okay, there's one gentleman over here. Who else? Just one? Come on, guys. You guys are students. Being a student means asking questions, okay? Who else? Okay, please, anyone handing the microphone? Got it. Huh? Oh, gitu.
Check. Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Kuras Bibisono. I'm a student from Economy and Business Faculty from Management. I want to ask that it was mentioned earlier that Indonesia has actually tried to be independent and produce our own product. But unfortunately, even for years, we still can't do that. We still can make our strong product. On another occasion, I had a brief conversation with our Minister of Finance, Sri Mulyani, in another place. She asked me about what if I can control our money, Indonesia finance. What is the first priority? So I asked her that the first priority is, the first priority is education, because I think that is the key to answer why we still can make our product, why still can we have a powerful weapon to be more independent in this economy. And my question is, in your opinion, what factors are actually still stop us to develop and be better, and what should we do to make that happen for Indonesia? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rizal. Anyone else? Thank you for the applause. First, brave guy. All right, anyone else? I need a menu list, please. Gentleman in the middle, and then the lady on the right.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask you question. So my name is Jadikhtia Rushida Amanullah. You can call me Jihad. I'm from the economics major, and I would like to ask, with countries taking geo-economic considerations into more consideration, to heavier consideration, and potentially looking more inward, Um, I've been wondering that since we rely so much on international trade, especially access to foreign markets, why can't we make those markets here instead? Why can't we boost purchasing power of local Indonesians so that they can purchase our products instead of having to rely on foreign markets to purchase for us? Thank you. That's. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jihad, what was it? Okay. So yeah, basically, why aren't we rich enough to buy everything? Okay, anyone else, please raise your hand. I think, no? Okay. Please raise your hand, I can't see you. That's it, just 2 questions? No one else? Okay, let's go to the answer first. I hope you guys catch those. So yeah, again, Riandi, which one you want? Both, I hope. Go ahead, mate.
So the first question should be directed to the future president. So the one
Probably you,
that
we don't
succeed,
know.
those that succeed to answer this question could become the next president, because that's the $1 million question, right? So what prevents us from development? What denies us to achieve our potential? I think I will answer it in good old classical economics. First is macroeconomic policy, and second is real sector policy. Now, so back in the day in 1980s, our manufacturing is growing 10%, 12%. That allows our economic growth to achieve 8%. So I have this nice graph. So back in the day, our manufacturing growth used to be the puller of economic growth. Just imagine a plane, both of the propeller is on, and it takes us off above the sky, right? Above the cloud. So that's in 1980s already, right? Now, our manufacturing sector growth is only around 5%. And it's not a magic to understand that because of that meager manufacturing growth, our economic growth also slowing down. So that's very correlated to each other, because manufacturing sector is the puller of the economic growth. So as a result, also our economic growth is only around 5 to 6%. Nowadays, 5% is already high, okay? So first, I think the problem is in reviving manufacturing sector. That's why industrialization is important. I think everybody agree industrialization is important, but the difference is how do we do industrialization? How do we do industrial policy in a correct way so that industry is still productive, but government also actively shaping industrial structure, because there's just so many externalities going on, like the coordination failure, the lack of infrastructure and stuff. So the first problem is with the real sector policy, which is not enough industrialization, not enough manufacturing growth. Okay, that prevents us from development. Why? The graph that I have before, manufacturing sector employs 20% of formal workers. So the biggest provider of formal employment is through manufacturing sector. That's simple answer. Second one is macroeconomic policy. Too many budget is going through inefficient allocation, inefficient post. I would argue, not even the free lunch meal program fix it. If at all, it gives more inefficiencies. Why? Because you have 300 trillion rupiah, which is 20 billion US dollar, all into free meal program, but you take out a lot of budget from infrastructure, right? Probably denies you from building more irrigation, yeah, and building more roads in outside Java, and you take out a lot of budget for developing other sectors that are also priority, all going to free meals program. I would argue that infrastructure and also tourism that is being taken out because of the travel spending cut, probably that give more multiplier than agriculture, because they employ more formality, more formal employment compared to agriculture and food and beverages sector, okay? So the second problem is on our macroeconomic policies. But free meal program is just now. What happened before? Why 5%? I think back in SBY administration, too many money, too many our APBN, our fiscal policy, going into subsidy, right? But under Joko Widodo, when Pak Jokowi wants to build infrastructure, we do not have the money. All right, because commodity boom is over, party is over. So the simple answer to that is we miss too many boats. When China increase, we do not tap into that opportunity. When China rise, we do not tap into opportunity. And when Trump messed up the world, we also do not tap that opportunity of the moving out of the factory, out of China. So we miss all the boats, okay? So to me, more question than the answer. But I will start from those two. Thank you.
Would you say anything about why we can't have enough money to buy our own product, why we rely on exports?
Oh yes. So I don't think we need to be self-reliant. We don't have to be first rich to buy everything for ourselves. No, because that's so inefficient in a way that we can let other people buy our products and then we get the money to become rich. We do not need to be rich first by having just free money, but we can be rich by exporting the goods and let the people pay for us and we receive the money. I think that's better way to do growth. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Andre, maybe you,
Yeah,
Pak
just
Andre, your turn.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. I just want to be quick enough to answer those. I think, who knows about the theory of middle income trap? Anyone? Middle income trap, anyone knows? Nobody knows? I think you are familiar with that, yeah? You know middle income trap, yeah? I mean the story of the Argentine, Brazils, and maybe, hopefully, Indonesia is not part of those groups, yeah? But I will say that, you know the story of Japan, right? Well, Japan is another story. Japan and maybe some of the Scandinavian countries, we call it, it's not middle income trap, but high income trap, yeah? So you guys learn about the theoretical or story of development theory, the Maslow theory, the Keynes theory. That, I mean, what I want to say is I completely agree with Riyandi that, I mean, as a developing countries, we need to learn from already developed countries that the story of growth, yeah, always to be number one consideration. You move from agriculture to industry and then to services, yeah. And what happened right now in Indonesia, it seems like we move from agriculture economy to services economy. So we just, jump too far, or maybe a little bit offside in the states of development. But again, what I want to say is, what is more important for us, yeah. One is about, we always need to how to streamline our business license, yeah, because that's number one priority for investors, especially in the manufacturing industry. Second is about the legal certainty that's need to be enforced or need to be pushed on, okay? Because of what? I mean, we cannot rely solely on the commodity. Why commodity seems to be, shielded from those issues, or maybe why commodity seems to be resilient compared to manufacturing? It's very simple, because if you talk to the business people, to private sectors, commodity is one of the sectors in Indonesia that can create very high margin, yeah, profit margin. So if there is, we call it, informal cost, or maybe pungutan liar, pungli, yeah, they still can survive. They still can get the benefit of profit, yeah. But it's different story with the manufacturing factory or manufacturing sectors, that the margin is not that high. So if there is illegal costs, yeah, or maybe unprocedural time, or money that they need to spend, yeah, the margin just gone, okay. And maybe that's one of the reason why, if we take a look our manufacturing contribution to our GDP, it just, I think it's between, right now it's below 20%, yeah, Riyandi, yeah. I think long time ago we still, 30 something, yeah, that's correct. So I want to say, because I suppose not criticize the government, so I need to be careful on that, yeah. But but what is important is Indonesia need to be more focused on deal with legal certainty, yeah, and how to reduce the cost of doing business. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Aloysius, mind?
Thank you so much. I think I'm not gonna dare to repeat or echo my fellow speakers. They've been very comprehensive. I guess touching all the points about macroeconomics, Pa Riandi, macro, Pa Andre as well. So I think I'm just gonna be more personal. There are two questions. First questioner is about what keep denying us, right? And then the second questioner is about, you know, which country that actually take into consideration of geoeconomics, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm just going to answer this in one strike. So based on my personal experience as a commoner, as a layman, I guess if not for education and if not for infrastructures, my parents wouldn't meet in Java. They're coming from eastern province of Indonesia, from Maluku. In their days, it's either you become a policeman or army or a fisher or a farmers, or you end up like everyone else. But during the times of my mom and my dad, they are exposed to educations, and then thanks to infrastructures as well. Because of those two factors, they moved to Java, and then they meet each other, and then I get exposed with education in Java, which is far more better. But nowadays, I think the Eastern Province, as well as the Western part, is trying to cope up in terms of anything. I think the spirit is captured by successive presidencies in Indonesia. For instance, President Jokowi started the CTOL. The CTOL really cut off the costs, and it really helps. For example, my family's business in Maluku, fishermen, they are small, medium enterprises which really been helped by the CTOL program. I'm not really sure the statistic, but the reality of the issue is that it really opens up opportunity and diversification, and then logistical sea routes, and I guess the government is trying to really hit all the important notes. Pak Jokowi, infrastructure. Pak Prabowo now on food and energy resilience. There will be many ups and downs. I think Pak Riandi rightly mentioned, MBG wouldn't be that much, but it could be other multipliers as well, tourism, so on and so forth. But I think the efforts, fortunately, is there. So I guess we are driving towards the right projection, I guess, hopefully, because I remember when I entered Faculty of Law, I accustomed myself with the idea, with forecast, that Indonesia gonna be the lion of Southeast Asia. But I'm not really sure, Pak Krishna, you tell me, are we now the lion of Southeast Asia or not? Or are we still the sleeping lion, something like that? But I guess the projection, I think the energy is there, and then we are moving towards the right directions. And then it's really up to you and up to us, actually, as fellow Indonesians, to really chip in the national efforts, both as students, as policymakers, as in research, as in Bank Mandiri, or whatever it is, and with fellow help from UNIDO as well. I think we can be on the right track. Thank you so much, Pak Krishna.
All right, thank you. I was about to push you on that very point about where are we in the ASEAN, right? So yeah, I'm probably going to move a little bit. Just very last one, probably. Do we have actually leverage to, now we live in a leaderless world. Where do you see Indonesia in this new world where we actually have no leader that we can count on? Can we do something about it? Are we interested, have aspiration to do it? Do we have the leverage? Very quick answer from three of you. Again, from Mas Riandi, please.
Okay, as a small open economy, right? We understand this in the theory. We are a small, open economy, developing economies. So that means it's hard for us to dominate and to make rules of our own, right? But I think the first point that I'm going to make is, if we are unhappy with the current system, we have to come up with the alternative, right? We have to come up with the alternative. What is it that from the WTO that you or Indonesia and other developing economies wants to revise? What is it? Which aspect? For me, right now, Indonesian government and many other developing economies is only shouting but without doing anything important. Why? Because WTO is no longer there. I mean, we know WTO still exists. They have office in Geneva, I think. Yeah, I've never been there myself. But WTO still have office, still have expenses, still have director general, but not operational. Why? In Trump 1.0, they do not appoint the appellate body judges. Mas Aloysius know this better. Without the appellate body judges, those cases can never be solved determinately. Okay? So everybody can just violate the law, and some guys can challenge you, but it's never been actually solved. Okay? So basically, you have rules, but cannot be enforced. Okay? But Indonesia is never been a part of the multi-party interim agreement (MPIA), which is the alternative appellate body that solves the problem at least temporarily while the process of fixing WTO is undergoing. So we do not want WTO, or we as a developing economies say that WTO is unfair, but we do not know what kind of system that is going to replace WTO. We don't even start the conversation yet. So first start is, if we are going to rewrite the rules, what kind of system that we want? We have to come up with an alternative, and ideally, we need to start with ASEAN countries talking together, discussing together, and come up with the integrated framework. Second is we need to capitalize on what is happening in the world. For me, the urgency to transition supply chain and to shift supply chain is two things. First is geopolitical tension will still be there for quite some time. I believe, and many analysts believe, right? People already make investment, and it's no way that it's going to be turned around anytime soon. So those investment is made to anticipate future escalation, right? Not current escalation. So we need to capitalize on the future escalation of US-China and whatever might happen, God forbid, right? But that's first. We need to capitalize on the shifting of the supply chain, which is coming from China, right? People want to de-risk from China, going out of China, but right now those that benefit is only Mexico and Vietnam. I have a good chart here. Can we show the chart? So the share of import from US, the US import from China going down massively, right? But the US import from ASEAN going up. But that's only because the production facility is moving out of China. Because China export to Vietnam and China export to Mexico is increasing quite significantly. So what happened here is China going into more upstream in the value chain. So China not anymore becoming an assembler, but China now is going into supplying the parts and component, right? The assembling is happening in Vietnam and Mexico. We do not even capitalize on that. We are a labor-abundant economies, right? But we fail to capitalize on that opportunity. So I want to see that we are going into that direction. We rewrite the rules, we help rewrite the rules or whatsoever, and we capitalize on the opportunity before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Riyandi. Pak Andre?
Yeah, I just want to, again, I think Riyandi always point out very good point, yeah, what we need to do, what we need to focus on, yeah. I just want to echo what Riyandi said. The two keywords, one is the ASEAN and second is the labor. Yeah, I think everyone must agree that. I mean, I just want to give you guys some context. Yeah, what I feel personally in the last 10 years, maybe 20 years. Yeah, in terms of international trade, in terms of international negotiation, we always play defensive. We always think about our domestic economy. How do we protect our domestic industry? How do we protect our jobs? How do we protect our, let's say, SME, small medium enterprises? But we never think outside. We never think, okay, can we expand our market in, I mean, I'm not going to say in Europe or US, but can we expand our market in Thailand, in Malaysia, or maybe in Brunei? Yeah, it's simple questions, and and it's very relevant. That's what I think. I mean, maybe in 2 years from now, I imagine that if I go to Bangkok, I see Bank Mandiri there. Yeah. I mean, what I see here in Jakarta, if I can, okay, anywhere, all the corners in Jakarta, you can find UOB banks, Malaysian banks, Singaporean banks, but why it's very hard for us to find Indonesian banks in overseas, other countries? Okay, so that's maybe the shifting paradigm, or maybe the framework of thinking, yeah, in our head. We need to switch, or we need to change, yeah, to change our mind, yeah. Not only, I mean, not only in the business sectors, but also from you guys, from the students, yeah, because you guys will be the next leader of Indonesia, so it's very important, yeah. The second thing is, if you want to play a part, yeah, again, I'm not talking in global level, but I'm talking in the ASEAN level, yeah. Again, jobs is very important, and when I'm talking about the jobs, is the skills of Indonesian labor market, yeah. I mean, take a look what happened in how Philippines can survive or Malaysia can survive. Okay, you just compare the what you call it, the PISA scores, or maybe the mathematical skills, or maybe the English skills of Indonesian laborers compared to Malaysian, Vietnam, yeah, or maybe to Philippines. Okay, long time ago when I was a child, yeah, everyone compares us with Malaysia, and then Malaysia and Thailand, yeah, maybe 20, 30 years ago, yeah, and then they compare us with what you call it now. They downgrade our competitor. Now it's not Malaysia or maybe Thailand anymore, but it's Vietnam. Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, 10 years from now they compare us with Cambodia or Timor Leste. So it's not. It's our job to make sure that it doesn't happen. Yeah, I hope that 10 years or 20 years from now they compare us with India or maybe China. Yeah, that's our hope, I think. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Pandre. Pak Aloysius, this is actually your question, right? What do you think?
It's really kind of you. Thank you. You raised a very important points, I guess, from the beginning of our discussion, with all the challenges, with all the disruptions in global supply chain. Do we have leverage at all, right? Does Indonesia have leverage at all? I guess, I think most of the economic parts have been addressed by my very well distinguished fellow speakers. I guess Pak Martin Natalegawa, the previous foreign ministers, always tell us the difference between chairmanship and leadership. And this is very true when it comes to the recent Cambodia and Thailand armed conflict. I guess everyone was asking, what is Indonesia's response? Why don't Indonesia use its leverage, to calm down, to de-escalate the tension? But if you pay attention to the news, actually Pak Prabowo defer to Malaysia as the chair of the ASEAN, to give the opportunity for Malaysia to be in the spotlight. I think this is also part of leadership, a leadership that move things around without having to be in the forefront of the media headlines. This is part of our tradition, diplomatic traditions, whereas we could have convened the Asian African Conference by ourselves actually in 1955, but collectively we did it in unison with other countries. And I think this is the kind of Indonesian leadership, I guess, at least from my humble understanding, that we distinguish between leadership and chairmanship. Chairmanship of ASEAN, chairmanship of the United Nations Security Council, where I was humbled to be part of Indonesian delegation, is a rotating chairmanship, presidency. But leadership stays. And it really up to us, not only in the government, but also in every sectors of life to really support, to really paint or give contributions You don't have to be always aligned with the government, but you can always, your criticism will serve its purpose well, I guess. So I think we do have leverage, but it really comes down to how we manage or navigate that kind of leverage. I guess in terms of the current administrations, we know what is our focus, we know what is our priority, and it is very much, I still remember the first ever public speech by Foreign Minister Sugiono. It was during the FPCI. If any one of you know FPCI, it was last year. It was the very first foreign policy speech by Foreign Minister Sugiono. I was there in the conference, and he said, we do not have, Indonesia do not have the right to dictate other countries if we are not, you know, clear up our own mess. If we do not have the capacity. I think the message was clear for Indonesia. So yes, we do have leverage, but I guess we are a bit differential, and then we are a bit prudent in using it, Pak Krishna. Thank you. Hope that answers your question, Pak.
Okay, thank you so much. I will probably ask the next question towards Indonesian government's efforts to actually increase their FTAs, right? So in these days and age, we need to have more diversification of trade, probably. We understand that shutting down is not an option. And Indonesian government is trying to do both horizontally, adding more FTAs with more countries like Chile, Peru, Tunisia, and probably more other African countries, but also trying to make it a little bit deeper, right? Covers not just tariffs, but also, for example, harmonization, movement of people, and investment, like Pak Andre said before, right? Having Bank Mandiri overseas, maybe make it easier for us, or the opposite, right? Like ISIPA, where they build campus in Indonesia, something like that. So trade not just in goods, but also services that needs movement of people. That's what I call vertically moving, right? Make it a little bit more deep. Now, do you see the potential benefit of having these even larger scope of trade agreements, the potential benefits, and probably enough to offset all these geopolitical tensions? What can we do to further that if you think that's a good idea? No, we can talk not just only goods, right? So, for example, if Pak Andre more comfortable talking about the service side of the trade agreements, be my guest. But again, I will give the spotlight to Riyandi first.
Okay, thank you. My answer to that is based on the recent data. I think, is it from WTO or some university in Swiss? I think the answer to that is the fact of the global trade is majority of global trade is done in MFN basis.
Oh, majority.
Yeah. Yes, majority of trade is done in a most favored nation basis. Probably most favored nation is a strange term for economic student. MFNs, I also know this on the job myself. I don't even know. I know later. MFN and national treatment, those two, remember, if you are going to trade policy, you need to understand those two concepts. So most favored nation is basically giving equal tariff to everybody, right? If you are going to give preferential tariff, you need to prove it with certificate of origin, yeah, basically. And when people try to compile it, to compare which one using the general trade arrangement, compare it with preferential agreement, it turns out that most of the trade is done in an MFN basis, meaning they do not use the preferential basis. Yeah. And that's understandable because free trade agreement requires a very stringent rules, yeah, which called rules of origin that I said before transshipment. Rules of origin is something like this. Your textile can get 0% if your material is sourced from this, and that. And the process is undergoing this process and that process. Basically very complex, very complicated. So you might as well not use that scheme from the first instance.
Too costly.
Yes, because the rules of origin is too costly, they end up not using the free trade agreement itself. And this is the data is there. The utilization of FTA is very low. In Indonesia, I think the figure is around 15 to 20%.
30-ish.
Yeah, 30-ish. Meaning, all those negotiation is for nothing. Almost for nothing, even though not that extreme. But I would say what we need right now is clarity around global trade rules. If I have the money and I have to choose, if there is gun into my head and I have to choose doing bilateral or multilateral, I would prefer multilateral right now. Because just for the reason that we need more certainty, and bilateral agreement, even though it provides a short-term relief, because you can trade more with your partners, it do not solve the uncertainty that's lingering around. And I would say that keep going on what we do already now. The Peru, Chile, it's good, but it's very small. Peru, Chile, African countries, very small. EU is more important, right? In terms of the scale and stuff, I think I would still do that, but I would prioritize my staff if I were the president, prioritize my staff in Kemenlu and in other parts in the Kementerian to help rewrite the global trade rules. I think that's what I want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot to answer this question because it's very. I mean, I'm not that familiar with these trade questions. Yeah, because analyze about the global trade. Yeah, doing some stuff and using, some tools. Yeah. I think everyone knows about what is trade similarity index, trade differentiations. Yeah, maybe some of you already learn about CMSA, what you call it, constant market share analysis. Yeah, I think that's very important tools in trade negotiations, if I'm not mistaken. I think some of our trade negotiation in Ministry of Trade still use that. Yeah, so you combine the competitiveness of the product and the existing tariff. Okay, so the question is about, okay, should we pursue bilateral or multilateral? Or
Like,
something.
Yeah, in what way?
Yeah, I think, well, the perspective from my side, maybe from the government, I think both ways should be. I mean, we need to pursue both ways, because what is more important, if I imagine I'm part of the Minister of Foreign Affairs negotiator. Yeah, anything then can make our goods or services more competitive, I think we will do it. Why not? Yeah, bilateral, I think, let's do it. Multilateral, why not? I think anything that can make our goods more competitive compared to rest of the world, I think the answer is why not? I think that's we need to pursue both ways. But the more important thing is for the next features, we need to be more careful to choose what kind of bilateral trade, what kind of FTA, what kind of comprehensive economic agreement that we need to pursue. If we already know that, okay, we need Peru, we need Chile to be our partners. Now, I think the most important thing is to define the scope of the agreement itself. Is it only about trade? Is it also involve the investment, or maybe services? Like Pak Krishna said, because again, when you do trade negotiation, you need to look from your side first. Okay, will it benefit our workers, or will it benefit our industry? Will it benefit our domestic economy? Because let's say, if I'm not mistaken, if you talk about service, there is 4 modes of services here. Mode 1, mode 2, I mean, this is very technical, sometimes for business, they look for only mode 3. It's I think it's about foreign participation. Foreign investment, But more than that, I mean, if you take a look at Indonesia, if you take a look at services, what do you think, I mean, from your perspective, everyone hears, what is the more advanced service sector in Indonesia that could be expanded to overseas or other countries? Anyone knows? Digital, educations, Yeah, I wish in the next future, not only Bank Mandiri as in Bangkok, but also University of Indonesia. Yeah, that's one. But most important thing is, I don't know whether everyone realize or not, our healthcare sector is very advanced compared to other countries. I think, because I think 2 months, 3 months ago, I visited one of the private hospital in Jakarta. Yeah, I don't want to say the name, yeah. And they explained to us about, you know, okay, this technology, the facility, and the lab check that I think they said this is comparable to what Singapore has right now. Okay, and the skills of doctors in Indonesia, yeah, it's more advanced compared to doctors in Singapore. Because of what? Do you know? Because in one day, yeah, if you take the, we don't compare the specific skills, yeah, in medicine, but general practitioner, dokter umum, yeah, satu dokter umum di Indonesia, or one of general practitioner in Indonesia, can handle like more than 20 or 30 patient. But in Singapore or maybe in Thailand, Malaysia, maybe they handle like less than 10 in hospital. So this kind of experience, because you know, doctors like technician or maybe IT staff, they rely on experience or, you know, compared to pursue like higher level of educations. Okay, so that kind of identification, or maybe, you know, some kind of general review of our Indonesian economy needs to be done before we go outside and we do negotiation with our partners. I think that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Pak Andre. Pak Aloysius, your turn.
Thank you, Pak. I guess I'm gonna speak on about 2 points regarding this question. First of all, whether bilateral or multilateral that one should pursue. I guess speaking from as a matter of fact, the administrations at the moment is showing both interest to those kinds of agreements. For instance, we just concluded and we just reached actually a political agreement with the European Union on a trade on the trade side. It hasn't really done yet because the legal scrubbings are still to follow. Legal scrubbing means that both parties, Indonesia and the EU, are still, you know, discussing the details. But I think the essence of the trade agreement has been politically agreed to. And at the same time, the projection ahead is very much, if we pay attention to Pa Bayu's presentation, is bilateral, because there are 10 or 12 negotiations currently ongoing. So I guess the mentality for the government at the moment is about whichever comes first, and whichever, I agree with Pa Andre and Pa Riandi as well, especially on the part that which one that would really cater to our interests. The second point that I would like to mention, I think from a political and security side, from treaties on political and security affairs, I think we see the rise of human rights related, environmental protection related provisions in trade agreements. This is just flourishing in recent years. This is a new one. And this is a good development to welcome actually, because it will, you know, it will boost our standard. It will discipline our regulatory framework. And this is also in line actually with the government focus on acceding to the OECD, because acceding to the OECD is about reforming your rules, reforming all your legislations, so that it can really connect, it can really tailor up with the rules of that is perceived as to be a better, you know, global trade. I guess this is the kinds of developments that the government, I guess, even though I'm not a trade negotiator, Pa Marco, and I'm more to the security side, but I pay attention to the rise of that kind of provisions, human rights and protection. Some of the I guess some of the theorists would call it conditionality, political conditionality. And it's very well known in the field of political and security, political conditionality in defense industry, so on and so forth. Now, this kind of conditionality are encroaching towards trade agreement. But the way to see, we can see it from that part, or we can see it from a positive way, which is actually to reinvigorate, to boost our standards. I guess this is how I see about trade agreements. Be it multilateral or bilateral, we have to be prepared to step up ourselves. One of the project of the foreign ministry during Pak Jokowi, and I guess this is going to be went into Pak Prabowo, is that we revamp our bilateral investment treaties, because most of our Indonesia's bilateral investment treaties were made during a time where Indonesia was not in. I think the way it's crafted is not in really, in a really good part. For instance, we used to call ourselves a host country to investment. But now with Danantara, and even more, just 2 days ago, just a day ago perhaps, we just established a mineral industry agency. I think the posture, the intention is quite aggressive. Not only that we are a host of investment, but we want to co-host in investing in other countries. Not only, mostly I guess will be in Indonesia, but also in other countries. So legally speaking, this will change the way we approach trade agreements or investment agreements. I think this is the kind of mentality that I'm starting to see as promising, and hopefully, it could be sustained and continued up until and beyond 2029 when the term of the current administration ends. But this is a very promising one. Investment agreement, not only that we will host investment, but we will, co-investing, not co-hosting, sorry, co-investing. So we need to change our attitude in treaty negotiation as well. So I think that would be my point, Pak. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Aloysius. Brianti, okay, sorry, yeah, I will open to just one question to the floor. Someone that, yang mana? Where? Okay, just the one in the middle, please. Very quick one, please. Your name and direct to who?
Thank you for the change. My name is Muhammad Wildan Lazira. You can call me Wildan, and I'm from Management Major. And my question is that we know Indonesia is one of the largest economy in ASEAN, remains heavily dependent on China and the United States as its main trading partners of Indonesia, both for exporting commodities like coal, palm oil, and nickel, as well as for importing capital goods and technology. However, amid rising geopolitical tension and trade friction between these two powers, Indonesia faces significant risk to stability of its trade investment flows. And the main question, what the extent does Indonesia raise its economy resilience continues to rely heavily on China and the United States as its primary trading partners? So that's my question.
Thank you. Well then, I'll go straight to Riyandi again.
I think we need to first realize that dependency creates a problem, yes, but the supply chain shift that is going outside China to somewhere else is also driven by efficiency goal. So it's very important to remember. It's not the case that China moving their factory to Europe, no. China moving factory to Mexico and Vietnam. those are low labor cost location.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
And also Morocco to some
And
extent.
Morocco,
Yeah. North
and also
Africa.
to Eastern Europe, not the Western
Yeah,
Europe.
exactly.
So those factory, those shifting supply chain is still using efficiency as their main driver. So I think dependency, security issue, yes, but I think that's not the whole story. The whole story is, even though we know economic security is becoming more important, but the shift itself is still motivated by efficiency goal. So we need to be carefully calibrating our policy here. It's just impossible to totally decouple both from China or from the US. It's just impossible to not trade with them. To China in terms of the input side, because we rely materials, comparative materials from China, that's the reason why we can export to Europe and the US in the first place. Without the comparative materials from China, we cannot access their markets. That's a big, my hypothesis. Second is US a very big market that we cannot ignore. And even though we will close the deal, we are not yet closing the deal with the EU. That's why when we have the deal with EU, it's not yet. It's political agreement. I want to see the text. Because as a trade practitioner, we always refer to the text, right? How is our ROO is looking. But what I want to say is we cannot just rely on EU. Why? Because EU imposed a very stringent environmental standards. So we are trapped in the middle. So what I want to argue is probably the non-alignment, even the poly alignment, those traditional that is friendly to here is exactly the solution. Because we cannot simply just choose sides and ignore those two giants. We need to tread carefully into those two giants. But we also need to improve our competitiveness on the other part. So we need to do our homework to be part of the solution and also to capitalize on the opportunity. So I don't think we can choose and we can ignore those two giants. We need to capitalize.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't have the luxury. Pak Andre, please.
Yeah, just quick comment on that. I think everyone knows about what is first order condition. What is second order condition? First order condition is necessary condition. That's why I always talk about our domestic economy. Yeah, that's why I always talk about our cost of doing business. Yeah, legal certainty. That's our first order condition. If we cannot fix it, yeah. So don't hope too much about inviting investors all around the world to come to Indonesia to invest here, to open a manufacturing factory, to open a garment industry, or maybe another night factory in Tangerang. Don't hope too much. But if we can fix it, doesn't matter. Anyone from United States, from China, from EU, from maybe from Mars, maybe 100 years from now, who knows, will come to Indonesia. So again, this necessary condition, if we can, what we call it, mempercantik ekonomi domestik kita, and until everyone say that Indonesia is very sexy for investors, that's the click. Then we talk about the sufficient conditions. Like Pak Riyandi said, and my colleague here said that we don't pick a side. We friend with everyone. Indonesia is friend of United States. Indonesia is friend of Japan. Indonesia is friend of China. I think that's what I want to say, Pak Krishna.
Thank you, Pak Andre. Lastly, Pak Aloysius, please.
Thank you so much. I think it's a very good question. I cannot agree more, and I fully concur with my friend Pak Riyandi about the need to capitalize and then to have the necessary conditions. The only thing I want to add is that we have to have the confidence. We just won a case in WTO panel against the EU. I think yes, biofuel on biofuel. So I guess it's in itself is going back to Pak Krishna question again. It's a leverage, because with that winning we can leverage it to capitalize it to other things, and we have to open up all the possibilities. We have to capitalize on this winning on other things. And then even more to the political agreement that we just reached. So I think it's a matter of, having the right calculations. This is an issue of statecraft. It's not just one one discipline of economic or law, but it's about a statecraft. You have to craft the state policy in a very niche, in a very tactful way. And just like Pak Ariandi point, we have to capitalize. And then we have to have the necessary sufficient conditions. So thank you, Pak Krishna.
Thank you so much. And that's sort of conclude our discussion. I think we all agree that we live in an uncharted territory, right? And these two giants hard to ignore, unfortunately, and lots of uncertainties. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury to choose, right? Well, middle power is still growing, so we still have to aim for efficiencies, and that's how. But I think I want to give message to my students here at AUE that we need to chat more to people that's not economists, right? Because lots of other things are now needs to be included when we talk about international trade, right? So equip yourself with the good tools to chat with people from other disciplines, because those guys are, they can be very scary, so make sure you're well prepared. Okay, and please join me to thank these gentlemen for the discussion. And I hope to see you all again later, and then I'll give back to the MC. Thank you so much.
Thanks to our moderator as well.
Okay, thank you Mr. Krishna Gupta for guiding the moderated session. We would like our amazing speakers to stay seated, as we would like to give an appreciation to our moderated session speakers and moderator.
Therefore, we kindly invite Ms. Anggia Putri as the Chief Executive Officer of the 23rd Economix to give the play cards. For our first moderated session speaker, Mr. Aloysius.
We would like to express our gratitude once more to Mr. Aloysius.
On to our next speaker, Mr. Riyandi Laksono.
Once again, thank you to Mr. Riyandi Laksono. On to our next speaker, Mr. Andre Simangunsong.
We would like to express our gratitude once more to Mr. Andre Simangunson.
And finally, to our amazing moderator, Krishna Gupta.
Once again, we would like to express our most sincere appreciation to our exceptional moderator and moderated session speakers.
Before leaving the stage, we would like to commemorate this moment with the documentation session with all main session speakers and for a picture with the audience. Here first. Okay.
To all
Yes.
speakers, you may return to your seats.
Okay, we would take a picture so everyone can rise.
To everyone here and all the participants, please stand up for the documentation session.
Okay guys, you can go to the center of this room so you all on the picture. Okay, once more guys, please gather to the middle, center of this room, so you all guys can include it on the picture. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Give your best smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, to all the audience, can return to the seat. One more? Okay, sorry, one more. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. All the audience can go back to sit down on your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the moment you have all been waiting for.
In appreciation of your participation in the 23rd Economics International Dialogue, we are pleased to announce the winner of our exclusive door prize, an opportunity to win their very own pair of AirPods 4.
Wow.
Who's excited?
From the hundreds of registrants, we will randomly select one finalist who will have the opportunity to win this exclusive prize.
In a moment, we will display the screen with our spinning wheel, which will determine today's lucky winner.
Okay. Okay, without further ado, let us start the wheel together. Okay, congratulations to our winner, Renjani Luvena. Please come forward to the stage to claim your prize. Okay, she's here.
All right.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Faculty of Engineering.
Faculty of Engineering. Wow, what major?
Industrial Engineering.
Oh, Industrial Engineering. Okay.
Okay, so we would like to give you your own pair of AirPods 4.
Okay, to all the... Give your applause, guys. We will now proceed with the documentation session to capture this special moment. We kindly ask our lucky winner to remain on stage and face the camera as we take the picture.
Once again, congratulations and thank you to everyone who participated in today's session. You may now return to your seats.
Before we end the 23rd Economics International Dialogue, we would also like to thank to our sponsors.
Bursa Efek Indonesia, LPM FEBUI, ID Clear KPI.
We would also like to thank our media partners.
Acara kita, acara mahasiswa, Some Story, Business Group Indonesia, UNAS Radio 107.9 FM, London School Radio, and CNN Indonesia.
And to all the audience, please remain seated as there will be an attendance QR you need to scan before leaving this room.
We really hope that today's dialogue will give you beneficial knowledge resulting in new ideas to overcome the global economic challenges.
Thank you to all the audience, especially our distinguished guests, speakers, and participants of the 23rd Economics International Dialogue.
Not just that, we also have a very exciting news for the new batch of FIB students 2025 to have an opportunity in joining the Economics family.
Wow! I can't wait to see all the new faces here to become a part of the 23rd Economics family.
So, when can I apply?
You can apply tomorrow at the 28th of August.
And how about, where can I get to know more about the Economics?
You can scan this QR or go directly to our website, economicsfebui.com. You can also take a quiz on which division do you think you're most compatible and fit in based on your skills and interests.
That's amazing. We'll give you all about a minute for our audience to scan. So everyone, scan away. All right, we have now reached the end. Don't forget to scan this barcode once again for the attendance to receive the certificate of attendance. We will give you a minute. Has everyone scanned the attendance QR? We'll give you a few more minutes.
Okay, once again, thank you for staying with us until the end.
Thank you for everyone for your attendance in this year's 23rd Economics International Dialogue.
Now, we would like to bid a farewell. I'm Zahra Nazmi.
And I am Safa Tanjung.
See you on the 23rd Economics International Seminar on February 10, 2026.
The 23rd Economics
Esprit.